Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Apparently, going around the multiverse of Planescape, I end up forgetting one of the lower planes of existence as we talked about the lower evil planes of lawful evil and chaotic evil, and we forgot one. And when I say we, I mean I. And to be honest with you, my mistake is actually emblematic of this very plane of existence. So today we're going to talk about the plane of Hades, the plane of true neutral evil, and we're going to talk about uh, Hopeless, the gate town to Hades, and why it's a bit forgettable, um, both in its true description and why even in the canon of tabletop role playing games, even in Planescape itself, as strange and as creative as it can be, Hades is kind of like it's kind of forgotten in a corner. All right, so what is Hades? Well, Hades is a place of gray hopelessness. All right, we're done. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you guys for being part of the show. No, but to be honest with you, um, even with the pages and pages and years of, um, yeah, yeah, the most chaotic plane is a plane of cats, nothing but cats. If you ask each cat, they're going to say it's all about them. Shay Squad, this is the one. This is the one most of us are going to. The Hades, yeah. You would think with mythology there would be a ton of information about this, but a, a bad descriptor, but true. I think the creative team like basically shot their load, and by the time they got to Hades and thought, yeah, we've got a lot of history and mythology to pull from, it won't be difficult to describe this place. And they were completely dried out. It was just like nobody had any desire to be here or describe it or give it some flavor or anything. It's actually an opposite. Some of the features, it actually rolls opposite to the other evil planes of existence, which is what I kind of get. That you would think it would be a place that would be dominated by the Yugoloths, the daemons, Daemons, that they would have their own place. They're neutral evil. You got your chaotic evils in the abyss. You got yourself some lawful evils in the nine hells. You got your planes in between, and you would think this would be it just no. Yeah. You post boom, 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 boom. Okay. Oh no, Drew says since I struggle with chaotic depression, I'm already there. Yeah, Hades is very it the unfortunate way to describe Hades is it is depression incarnate, and I don't mean like just like the name of the city, hopeless. I'm talking like it. While we really in the role playing sphere really don't want to relate real world issues with a fictional fantasy location, unfortunately, you read all the words and they kind of navigate around the very thing that describes it. I don't know what depression is like. Um, I can't say I've ever felt it. I've probably been on. I mean, most of us have probably been on the spectrum at some point, but I couldn't tell you. But yeah, like Drew says, since I struggle with chronic depression, I'm probably already there. I'm sure many people would be there, and many people are living it in real life. So to be reminded of it, but it is part of the what we call descriptive elements of the evil planes of existence. Of course, we've got the torturous places and fire and brimstone and chaos and pain and flesh lashings and stuff. But then there's also the all hope is lost realms, the struggle as you might, you'll never get out kind of realms, like in pandemonium and other places like that, the backstabbing places and things. And this is very much an emotionally, I mean, there's a lot of physical danger, don't worry about it, we're going to get into that, but this one is very literally, it talks about draining color. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Yeah, Hades all the way. Yeah. Shai says in real Greek mythology, Hades is not so bad though, right? And that's the point. Like, I don't know. Is it myth? Has Greek mythology created the heroes and the personalities that exist in Hades, but never really talked about what Hades is like, right? Because we hear of like Ares going down there and Demeter and Dionysus, and there's a bunch of like Greco-Roman heroes and deities and demigods that have gone back and forth. But has it ever been the location itself been described? I don't know. It just seems like the place where Hades, the individual, has lived and been all like emo about it. I don't know. Kind of strange. Anyway, Shai says, I thought Hades is where pretty much everybody goes and becomes a shade, and it's nothing like burning in the fires of hell and damnation. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then like when I heathen mentions specifically like mental illness sucks. I've been going through bureaucracy trying to get talk therapy and a psychiatrist. Wow. See, and that's my point, right? Like I feel like there because of how pandemonium and limbo and some of these other places have been described and it's been kind of changed around. I'm surprised creatively no one's done this. So anyway, so let's get into the plane. We'll start on the plane of Hades and then move our way out of it into the city of hopelessness. So and mind you, I've been reading a lot of this from the Forgotten Realms fandom wiki. So how correct it is or not, it's probably pretty correct, but at least we have to have some place to talk about it. All right, so the Gray Wastes of Hades, or just known as the Gray Wastes, is an outer plains location, home of the daemons or the Yugoloths, and is located at the midpoint of the lower plains. It is a plane of evil balanced between law and chaos. It's neutral evil. The alignment of neutral evil has very much been described as the one of complete greed and self-absorption. So it is not so chaotic as to run with its emotions. It's not so lawful that it is a tyranny, unfounded. It is basically personal. Oh, how would you describe it? It is all personal ambition, only an alignment that only does a thing as long as they receive something for it. All right. And and here's one of the quotes is, I don't know, I don't care, and I don't care if you don't like it. 6-week resident of the waste. Yeah. The three layers of Hades are called glooms for a reason. They are devoid of emotion, hope, and peace. Gray land and gray sky throughout, with no sun, moon, or seasons to break the monotony. Any color other than shades of gray would be obvious against the background, but would fade to gray in a week or two. And like bright colors, beings would begin to fade also. At first, they would feel the drain of emotions, leaving only sadness, ennui, and defeatism. In a 10-day or two, and this 10-day is a Forgotten Realms way of counting the days, makes sense, 10 days or two, they would be trapped in Hades, and their existence would begin to fade until they finally become larvae. And when I said it's the opposite, instead of beings coming here and then if in order to prosper in the lower plane, actually what happens is petitioners come here, souls from the dead and neutral evil come here that are self-absorbed and greedy and such, and they come here and actually they de-evolve into larvae, which is why I feel like this plane isn't like a battleground for the Yugoloths. I think most of them have probably left because if they stay here too long, it's just gray and listless and that kind of thing. Now, I will admit, and this is from mythology, the one unique thing about this realm, and I could see this being a realm where the blood war um troop foundations can move into the upper planes and prime material plane, is that Hades is directly using mythology. Hades is directly connected to Olympus, the prime material plane, and Yggdrasil, the world tree. So you don't have to. You can literally travel here without hitting the astral plane at all, and the river Styx flows through it. So yeah, it connects the river Styx. It flows through this layer, through portals to Tartarus, Gehenna, Concordant Opposition, Yggdrasil, and of course related to Asgard and Gladsheim, and Mount Olympus. So it is a conduit to get to other planes without having to directly go through the astral plane, and go through the different layers and things of that nature. You can go from one to the other. Um, Now, when it comes to the city of Hopeless, it's very similar to it. Oh, let me see what you. Oh, another comment popped up. Yeah, One Eye Heathen says, yeah, Hercules and Odysseus went down there. Yeah, sounds boring as fuck. Yeah. Perfect quote. Yes, that's a t-shirt you could buy there probably in heather, gray, slate, concrete, and oh no. Shice. Ooh, burn. Gray burn. Ooh. This is what Sweden must be like. Yeah, overcast. One Eye Heathen says, Hades, the unconquerable realm. Eventually the world will be conquered. Just would not care. Exactly. So this is where the Styx tire raft ride begins. Everyone get on the ride. Right? Very, very much drained of everything. So um, for example, the gate town of Hopeless is the place where that can lead into Hades. And the pit, the gate to get to Hades is basically just a black pit of ooze and oil, and there's signs around it like please do not throw coins in, literally the opposite of, you have a coin and you flip it into a fountain and you make a wish. It's the wishless well. It's actually called the wishless well. Like, don't throw a coin in it. All it'll do is just make black puddings and other oozes and maybe other eugloths and other daemons, whatever, slip out of it. So you really don't want that. It's the complete opposite of making a wish. But two of the regional effects are pretty hilarious, and are emblematic of what Hades is about. And there's lingering apathy and wasting pigments. So the residents of Hopeless are cheerless and indifferent. Charisma, persuasion, and performance checks to influence them are made with disadvantage. Also, the wasting pigments. Hopeless Hopeless leaches the color from its inhabitants. Creatures' skin, scales, and fur fade to gray, and non-magical clothing and equipment exhibit ashen tones. So anybody that's spent any time here, you'll know that they were here, especially when they leave, and it's like they're in a black and white, from a black and white television show. They're just leached of all colors and such, which um, a little humorous in a depressing kind of way, but pretty fun, especially if a player character is like happy, like wow, the color out of my outfit's been leached away. That's kind of cool. I like the way I look because I'm a emo edge lord. Mm-mm-mm. Drew says depression can indeed feel like one is devolving, drawing back into just a vegetative state and no longer being interested in anything. I'm glad I have medication to keep being functional. Exactly. And again, not a professional, not trying to say anything untowards, but why would you want to travel to a fantasy realm that's kind of like this? Ugh. It it feels icky because it hits so true. But then, fantasy is about violence, and it allows us to do that. So I suppose you, you could, if you could insert hope into a realm like this, maybe those who, because it is fantasy and allows us to be something that we are not, maybe this realm is a way of portraying like becoming the savior of sorts, being the hero that's able to break people out of this um, fictional fantasy depressive like state. And so I suppose if you're at a group that's very mature and willing to deal with mature themes. Planescape being problematic and thematic in its alignment and everything about it that we all hate. Um, I think there's space for like going like, hey, we can get our lives back in a realm that doesn't have to beat you over the head with evil and fire and brimstone. It's just coming here, you just lose all desire to do anything and just trudge around all day, until you literally like as been described by Drew and Fuzz, that you you begin devolving into something else. And I think that that's also a feature of the realm, why you don't see demon lords taking it over and it's more like no, even they don't want to be here, which is crazy. Mm-mm-mm. Shai says, do the Black Cabal and or the Dustmen have much to do here? I don't think so. We haven't gone into the factions, which are pretty interesting. The bleak black, the Bleak Cabal and the Dustmen being a faction of in Planescape. Let's see if I can get them right. Um, One faction believes that everyone in the entire multiverse other than the prime material plane is just dead, and everything's ticking down to um, what is it, destruction, annihilation, entropy. So I suppose maybe this is kind of it's more like it here. It's like, yes, this is where everything should be and the rest of the multiverse should be like this. I don't know, maybe, yeah. When I Heathen says, I imagine some people with really horrible anger problems would sometimes escape the Hades just to not exist in a state of rage. Ooh, oh wow, yeah, because those of utter chaos might not want the manic wildness in them, and this is the place, especially outer plane styled creatures might come. I could see that. What is I like where you went with that. I really do. Shai says, to me, the lower planes always seem like an allegory for all kinds of mental disorders. I definitely agree with that. I absolutely do see that. And in one way or another, not only do I think, like you said, like it's a allegory for all kinds of mental disorders, it also gives us kind of a way to, uh, you know, to non game wise role play our way out of it. Like, hey, to believe ourselves, like there's a fantasy way of us getting beyond what is in front of us. Just like we were talking about the lawful good plane, right? And talking about how fascist it is and things like that. Like having some fun with it where like speculative science fiction, okay, this isn't real life, but if it was, how could we portend our way out of it? Like, what kinds of actions could we do in a fantasy realm that we couldn't do in real life? And it allows us to beat ass on people, places, and things that probably deserve it, but we can't do that in a civilized manner. And this might be that kind of place. Yeah. So what's pretty horrible about this location is that yeah, of course, his name Hopeless is a dreary town with but one entrance, the Screaming Gate. And let's see if I can find her. Okay, the residents of Hopeless are a gloomy lot, defeated folk with nowhere else to go and no energy to leave. They dress in drab, monotonous garments devoid of color or fashion, trudging listlessly down the gate town's single curling avenue like sewage to a drain. Too despondent to muster emotion, locals are neither friendly nor spiteful. They simply exist. Not surprisingly, they are easily conquered, as was the case when the town's current ruler, a mysterious humanoid called High Cardinal Thingol, entered the Screaming Gate with a pack of beholders poised to enforce her will. Nicknamed the Maiden of Misery, Thingol floats through Hopeless adorned with an expressionless iron mask and a robe of rattling chains. The unfeeling tyrant's laws change by the day, but her disdain for color and emotion are constant. This joyless executioner compounds the sorrow of her subjects. Ooh. I don't know what humanoid being the maiden of, what is it, maiden of misery, has over, has beholders as her thralls, but sounds pretty horrible. You're like, are these like the guards in the Holy Grail? I don't know. Yeah, good point. You can make your own depression quest in the abyss. Exactly, right? It's complete chaos. Drew says Pixar films have interesting depiction of depression. Inside Out had the girl become emotionally frozen, or the film Soul had people become lost. Yes, and I can't wait for, sorry, Pixar, new Pixar movie. I hope Pixar gets back to their utter brilliance with Inside Out Part Two, where the young girl is 13 years old. I can't wait to see that movie. I think Inside Out and Soul, to be honest with you, are pretty brilliant. Um, so yeah, I can't wait to see them. Drew says, I also have anxiety on top of my depression, feeling guilty at the end of a day on which I have not done anything creative. Oh, that's the worst. No, 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 no. Holy shit. So basically, Hopeless is one big Joy Division album. I can dig it. Back to the music. Yeah, Drew, no, no, no. You can't feel guilty about doing that to yourself. That's the worst. You listen, we've got a lot of problems and enemies in life, but the one that's the most difficult to defeat is the one inside of us. It's so crazy that how that works. Um, yeah, it's far easier for us to deal with everything outside of ourselves, but that one inside of us, that other person, that other brain inside of us that like gnaws at us and tells us who we are and what we are and says bad things to us. It's like, what are you doing in my head? Right? Like, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to be together on this quest in life? Why are you working against me? Stupid brain. Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So the gate towns are supposed to have a they can't be completely the alignment they are associated with. And here's an example yet again of a, a adventuring issue that can't be solved by beating it about the head and shoulders. All right. So a lot of the issues and ways of navigating the planes of existence and Planescape itself really require the players to think outside the box. You have to figure out a way to navigate a realm that where the physics of the very realm are working against you. And there are two issues here that make it not neutral evil, that make it not hopeless, even though the place is called hopeless, because the players have to have something to do. And there's two issues here. One of them is more rebellious, and the other one is a little bit fun. All right, so the more rebellious one, the one I think the players will really latch onto, and this idea is a little bit more uh, serious in tone, and that is basically an uprising and rebellion of of joy and mischief. So, for example, there's a place known as the Castle of Bone, and the the Castle of Bone is a tavern of sorts. It's kind of one of the worst taverns to, if they even bother having taverns here in Hopeless, and it's so dreary that literally there is a. It's run by Rurik Witherblade, a neutral good white, Wight, and if you guys know, wraiths and wights are classic Dungeons and Dragons undead beings. Yet this white, oh, it makes me YouTube. Oh, please don't ding me on this one. Um, I'll say wraith because it can be taken the wrong way. Anyway, is neutral good simply because it is so dreary here. Even the undead are like, dude, this is too dreary. And so they are trying to instill a rebellion deep down in the bowels of the tavern. And down there, it is a place for people to engage where there is color and music and good food that people can to give a little hopefulness to people that live in hopeless in a place known as literally called hopeless. And The people here that want to instill this rebellion to leave this place have to be careful about indulging in the good life too much. And so, because unfortunately, color would return to their face, maybe even color might return to their clothing, even. And so, black market joy is brought here, and um, members of the community are brought here to basically have a little bit of color and joy and life brought to their faces, and to have them smell a good meal or drink a good wine or libation or something, to hear a song that is joyful, or just something that's beautiful that doesn't exist in Hopeless. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to do. Voigt. Oh yeah, try the German instead. Uh, Instead of white, the Vite, maybe. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation. Sorry about that. But yes, yeah. The verbality of my voice could be taken the wrong way when I describe the other version of wraiths in Dungeons and Dragons. um, Also, the other one that's a little bit more fun is that the Maiden of Misery, who controls beholders that patrol the city, that eradicate um, hope and joy and color throughout this city, including a place known as the Gallows. And the Gallows, even though it's not true gallows where they hang people, the Gallows is a place in public to let everybody in the town know, where the Lady of Misery has her beholders bring people there. And the one way for them to get away from the crimes of hope and joy is to get the Lady of Misery to smile, to laugh, to chuckle a little bit, maybe even smirk behind her featureless iron mask. And if you can get her to do that, you're free. You're innocent. We're going to let you go. Let it be known that there isn't a single person that's been able to do it. And of course, they disintegrate you on the spot. So there's that too. And did I mention that the city is patrolled by beholders? Because I don't know if I mentioned that enough. The city is friggin' controlled by beholders. Keep your head down, wear gray, don't do anything, right? And I think the beating things about the Head and Shoulders player characters fighting off or having to dodge around, or heist wise be circumvent to move around these 11 eye tyrants that roam this place to achieve something. It's pretty cool, and especially if the players are here to bring to bring baked goods, musical instruments, colorful adornments, playing cards, artwork, or something. I think those things would be valuable for people here, to at least give them some hope, to say, "Hey, we'll be back, and remember the taste of the pastries that I gave you. We'll be back within a fortnight or something." Yeah, to the middle when I eat it. Yeah, Shai says, just say Vite, but start it with a V and not a W, and it will be good enough. No racial connotations and close enough to the German. Cool. Okay, you got it. Vites. Actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure that word and terminology probably is it's an Americanism here, a stateism, but it's probably pronounced Vite anyway. Yeah. Shai says, Lady of Pain can laugh? I thought she disintegrated all that tried to interact with her. No, not Lady of Pain. Lady of Maiden of Misery. Lady of Pain is somewhat, well, they're kind of similar. Um, yeah, the Lady of Pain is in Sigil. The Maiden of Misery is in Hopeless. Um, they don't give stats, but the Maiden of Misery could probably be defeated. So if you stat it, they can kill it. The Lady of Pain can never be destroyed. Period. The Lady of Pain is a deity above other deities. She's like an anti-deity if you think about it. The Maiden of Misery is supposed to be some sort of wizard or something like that. An unstatted one. Now, what stats would you give a being like that that wears an iron mask floating around the city with a cadre of beholders at her disposal? I don't know. You know, 20th level plus plus plus. Hey, Voom. Hey, what's up? You're dude. I get confused all the time in Planescape. I cheat because I've got books in front of me and windows open and things like that. So yeah, I get to cheat. All right. So what are some adventures you can have here? Now, like I said before, um, we talked about how like pandemonium is a great place to dump people. We talked about cursed being like a prison. It literally is like a prison of sorts. And I can see Hades and hopeless or hopeless and the gate town into the gateway into Hades being um, a a perfect prison because the prison is in the mind, and even the greatest heroes of the goodly realms and the evilest most evil of the evil realms could get imprisoned here, dumped here, and held here, and eventually they'll just give up and not even want to leave. And I think that'd be a great place for players to have to heist their way to get the MacGuffin being a person, to say, hey, we've got to get them out of here. And the difficulty is not just finding them, which might be relatively easy, but convincing them to leave. Now, of course, the act of them resisting wanting to leave might in and of itself bring some life back to them, but just the longer the player characters stay here, the more they're not going to want to leave themselves. So there is a time pressure, and we love to talk about time pressure here on this channel. That is the unsung hero of game mastery, right? Anytime you can put pressure on player characters to do a damn thing, and as you shrink that time pressure down, and they don't have enough, and the players aren't given enough actions to complete all the things they want, and they have to make a hard decision. Chef's kiss, right? That's exactly where you want them to be. And so while Hades itself is a bit gray and uninteresting, I think the dichotomy between player characters who think they're edge lords, and when they come here, they seem bright and cheerful and with bright colors and things like that, and they stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah, Drew. Like, wait until you meet Aunt Anguish. Yeah, we could do all those alliterations, right? The Maiden of Misery, Aunt Anguish. What? I don't know I don't know what's something that begins with D. Um, like the anyway, we being live, I got a ton of things in my head and stuff like that, but we could have some fun with it if we really wanted to sit down. Voom says, oh, pressure or time crunch kills PCs. As soon as that happens, my players make all the wrong choices. Yeah, but that's the fun part, right? Is they're like left, right, let's hide behind the chainsaws, right? It's the it's that kind of thing. And I think that's cool. Daddy depression, there you go. Daddy depression, yeah. Or yeah, I mean we could start naming ourselves a ton of like very like hey, let's meet, I don't know, Hannity, the hopeless, and meet, daddy depression. Let's meet father forgetfulness. uh anyway, we could go down a deep path with this because you can get a little scatological as well, because that's kind of where my brain goes. But lastly, I will say that because this place devolves petitioners, people that come here, and it's almost like the longer they stay, the more they just kind of like curl in on themselves, and maybe not in the city of hopeless, but down in Hades, they'll actually become larvae, which is like human face, worm body, right? And um, some of the big bad evils, uh, gods that have been cast out, titans and whatnot. Maybe many of them have been kind of crushed down in on themselves, where, sure, at a different time and place, they didn't have stats, but now they've got stats PCs might be able to take them on. A Titan might shrink in on themselves, and they're like the size of a halfling, and they're like, "Hey, stick the Titan in your back pocket so we can get the hell out of here," right? Yeah, cousin of confusion. Drew's gonna go there, aren't you? Yeah, but you can have some fun with it as well, and also it can also cast a mirror on some of our more edge lordy like player characters where the place is so depressing that even the emo depressed carrier characters that want to have the dark shadow and be I don't know, evil Mick, um 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 Dark Lord or something, even here they look like they're amazing colorful heroes to a people that's just like whatever. And there's something pretty frustrating, friggin' frustrating, that's like a hellscape, like dealing with a bureaucracy where you have someone who doesn't care. Like if you have someone with an attitude, or they're happy, or they have some personality, while we may not like that in the bureaucracy, at least we're getting some reaction out of it. But when you have somebody that just is sloth like, that just doesn't care, and it's important to you but it's not really important to them, and there's no way to get that person that you need their help in the bureaucracy to get them to move any faster, and they're just like, fill out this form. I filled out the form. Oh, let me see the form again. Yes, you missed this part right here. Oh, here, hand it back to me. Can I just fill it out? No. As they stick it in the shredder, you must take new forms and fill them out. But I didn't see what you pointed out to me the other way. Please step over in the other line. You know what I mean? Like you could get that whole you could really play that up here when the PCs are like, listen, using what is it, disadvantage on performance and persuasion checks, and a goodly character is like trying to use their persuasion, like, please listen, we need to help some people here. Can you tell us, point us to the blah 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 blah? And the person's like, yes, I guess I could point you to a safe place to hide. Yeah, yeah, okay, where is it? Where is it right now? They're on our tail right now. Well, it's to the left, but you really don't want to go there. I don't want your side comments. Where's the safe haven? All right, well, it's in the basement of the tavern known as known as what? What? You're just like, shit. Yeah, welcome to the mind of Kafka. Yeah. You're like, fuck, speed it up. Damn it. Give a damn. Yeah, care about something. Yeah, and Boom says, especially in 5e, they blast out all their stuff and then they are caught with their pants down. Resource management in 5e? Oh noes. Yeah, no resource management at all. Everything. Just sleep it off. Don't worry about it. Right? Which is, I mean, if you think about it, that's why some of these Kickstarters for an OSR old school styled type of play, no dark vision, got to worry about food and light and lingering effects and things like that. I mean, it's working against it. That's kind of cool. Heathen says the shadowy rogue loner that plays by his own rules, that hides in the corner of the tavern, goes to Hades. Gets to the corner and everybody else is there. Yeah, right, Heathen? Like, yeah, I've got my dark cloak up and I always stay to the corner with my back turned, blah, blah, blah. And then they get there and everybody else is like, hey, rogue, sorry we're here. Didn't mean to take your corner. The rogue is like, wait a minute, where are all the other people? We're all in the corners too. Oh man, but yeah. So I think another, how do I explain this? Another facet of using the Gate Town of Hopeless and Hades is the idea that some of the evil big bads might know what this place is like, and that it could be they're they are the antithesis of Hades, right? Like they could be upset that a place like Hades even exists, and the machinations in the nine hells and their lawful evil realm, and all the chaos and everything in limbo, and the chaos that's happening in the abyss and everything. Maybe they know what this place is like, and they're like, hell no, we'll never be like that. We don't want to ever go there. And sure, we've got our pitchforks and flaming pits and all that kind of stuff, but at least we're about something, you know. And Boom says, I'm running Halls of Arden Vol and Shadow Dark right now. Wow, my players love it. And they're adapting quite well once they understood that their stats do not matter that much. Yeah, we're gonna have. I got. Damn it! I didn't want to get away from the day of series, but I'd really like to talk about. And I have a number of videos, and they're still getting more views about like OSR versus 5e, OSR versus modern D&D, and the unintended consequences of how the rules have changed over time, and why there seems to be a reflection back into an OSR style of play where player creativity is valued above all, right? It's the and Voom, I know you're gonna understand this one. It's why players go down in dungeons with 10-foot poles and chickens and ball bearings and a pouch full of powder and feathers and string and all, and magnets and all this other kind of weird thing. You're like, what? Why does your character have all these things? And you go into an OSR dungeon, you'll realize why you need all those things. Ball bearings on floors to see if it tilts, dust in corners to see if there's airflow, feathers on doorknobs in case someone turns a doorknob. I mean, string down into, go down in the cracks, or to find a key that fell off where you were trying to pick a lock and the key got pushed down the other side. You got to, slide the hook on the string under the door to pull the key to get it back, or the PCs were captured and trapped and stuff like that. Yep, 10-foot pole for checking for traps. Hey, listen, you don't want to touch it. You got to poke it with something. Why there's a difference between a 10-foot pole and a staff, I don't know, but you get the point, right? Like, it's the creative problem solving that is far more valued and important and surprising even to us game masters. Like, oh, I didn't even think you guys would do that. That's sweet. Slow clap. You know what I mean? Yep. Yeah, Shai says OSR dungeon equals net hack in the theater of the mind. Yeah, hell yeah, 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 yeah. Druden says character skill and player skills are for me both too much based on ableism. Really, really. I would love to have we're going to have this discussion. We have to. We really do. AM Boom says, yes, 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 DBJ. That's exactly it. It's more important how creative the player is rather than what is on their sheet. Now, listen, we do have dice, and there's a reason for having dice, because sometimes we don't know the outcome. But sometimes just being engaging in the world itself pleases us as game masters, so that the outcome is one where you don't need to roll the dice. Where an example would be let's take the ball bearing idea, right? Hey, I've got marbles or ball bearings. I want to roll them on the floor, and in your head you're like, oh well, the floor was supposed to be tilted because there's a trap that if you do, well, if they did that thing and it solved that issue, and they find out that the floor, there's a drain in the floor, and the PC is like, a drain? Is the room going to flood with something? Hey, take a look around and, take stuff and clog the holes that are in the walls, or I don't know, come up with some idea, and you're like, wow, they almost fell for it, right? And while I do understand, Drew, like you're saying, like character skill and player skills are very much ableism, because listen, I'm not a charismatic person, but if I make a charismatic character, I'd like my character to be forthright and charismatic and a leader, and maybe I'm not that way. Maybe my character is very can think very quickly on their feet. They're very brilliant, but I can't play an 18 intelligence wizard, right? So we do have dice, but it's also the opposite of I walk into the room, I roll a perception check. What do I see? Right? It's the middle ground of look, just tell me what you want to do, and then we'll grab some dice and go, oh, okay, you're checking under the bed. And now we can grab some dice. Oh, you're listening down the hallway. Well, don't bother rolling dice. You decide to listen down the hallway. Well, you hear something, right? And it's that back and forth. Drew says, I'm writing a hopefully complete essay about my ableism perspectives in the hobby. Can still take a few weeks since it is much more than I realize. And that all, listen, we sometimes we're a little too smart for our own goods because we go, oh, this should be easy. And then we go down the rabbit hole of like trying to figure something out. And we go, oh, and it's the lifting another stone and seeing what's underneath it. It's like we're walking along and going, "Oh, lift up the stone. Wow, I found something there." You lift up another stone. Oh, I found something there. And then your eyes look up and you see there's like this mile long path of like flat stones, and you're like, "I guess I got to look underneath all of them. I guess." Damn it! Why did I do this to myself? So yeah, I get you, and yeah, and Voom, I'm a very OSR style of play person. I don't need the OSR rules. I can play any game, but I prefer players to be engaged in the world, ask questions, push things around, come up with creative ideas. You guys see these YouTube videos of um, amazing videos of experts doing expert style things. And I love the videos of like, here's a guy with just a couple of spikes and a hammer, shattering 5 tons of marble or something like that, right? Does the person have giant strength? No, they have a very good skill. And guess what? You can split marble by hitting a crack or creating your own crack or crevice or something like that. So it's things like that. So I really love those kind of things. But circling back to Hades, it is a bit boring on purpose. It is literally the gate town is literally called Hopeless. Although I'm sure players would have a lot of fun trying to navigate through a depressing gray city that is monitored um, by eye tyrant um, beholders under the liege of a grand wizard, the what is her name, Maiden of Misery, um, that kind of thing. Ayn Voom says about ableism. I run games for neurodivergent people. I know how to adapt, so they too have a good time. Yeah, and that's another thing too, right? Like if somebody is value added at your gaming table and they have certain issues, just ask, figure out how to get past, adapt to certain things. Like for example, I wish we had more easy to acquire um, digital tools for things like hearing, sight, and other neural divergent gaming mechanisms that I wish I could use because I'm not familiar with them, that I could easily grab off of like a tray or a shelf or something. Like, oh, hey, I'm producing a game and I'd like to people of this type that I'm not familiar with to engage in this game with me. What could I use? And we don't really have that yet, but I'm sure with so many neurodivergent and individuals that are uh, I guess what's a good way of saying it, uh, that think and act and are physically outside the norm can give us a lot of tools. Because listen, I want to role play with a bunch of these people too, and how am I able to do that if I'm both ignorant and lack the tools, right? um yeah, Shai says Andrew Wood, yep, had some expert 4-hour sessions for Within the Ring of Fire. Very little dice rolling, very little combat, but all acting talent. And that's the fun part. Right? Yeah. A and Voom mentions, yep, the problem is there is no toolbox. There would be as many tools as neurodivergent or disabled people. Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone's different, but I wish there was a like I have zero. I know the big word of today is being woke. It's so stupid because the opposite of that would be being asleep. But the thing is that other people other than me exist in the world, and those people probably hold a value to me that even I don't know, right? So why put up a barrier to other people getting in the RPG gaming sphere? What the hell do I care? Right? I can't. It's pretty ridiculous to police other people's dreams and creativity, right? It's pretty. How do you gatekeep somebody else's creativity and their own? I don't know. It's just bizarre to me. I just find it like I don't want you playing in my role playing games because you're going to think of other worlds that I'll have no part in and not even know about. Like really? They want to buy some role playing books and be able to read them and engage online with these kind of things and stuff like that. And maybe I don't know what you could say. Maybe the artwork or the page count or the digital assets or whatever um, are just difficult for them to deal with, and maybe there's some easier way, filter or something like that, or a computer program that allows them to use it better. And again, that takes nothing from me, so I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion about it. It's pretty stupid. So rarely do I end the show at before an hour. But listen, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Hades is pretty the literal mental affliction of depression. So again, this is why some of our classic fantasy isn't embraced like you would think it would be with WotC, because it does have some a problematic nature with it. And Planescape, all of Planescape itself is pretty. You kind of have to have a mature, um, a mature outlook on it, even when you're having fun, because it could rub people the wrong way. And alignment itself, you always get a little the the argument about alignment season has been fading away, but even that, sometimes in Planescape, people can have 45-minute arguments about alignment where I'm going like, why don't you just role play it out? It's kind of fun, right? That's the whole point of it. So yeah. Drew says, I think woke was originally a good idea to be aware of the struggle people still have. Yep. But the term has been appropriated, and by now by the white left and also the right. Yes, it has. And I'm just like, it makes me wonder why people are concerned about other people's people are expending energy on things that literally have no impact on them but have a great impact on other people. So why would I expend energy to stand in the way of other people in the world? Like, they don't threaten other people's comeuppance, doesn't threaten my position in life. And I think that's really weird. It's like, so there's more people in the world to engage in a thing. Great. Doesn't change the what is it? Doesn't change the price of tea in China, something like that. I can't remember what that phrase is. Shai says internet gatekeeping and cancel culture can make you, fucking famous if you play your cards right. You're going to be mega huge now. Yeah, I know. It's playing on that weird dopamine hit of a negativity dopamine hit. I mean, there's, like I said before, there's huge YouTube channels dedicated to nothing but negativity, and I'm like, I don't know how do you make money off of, like, I I psychologically could not engage in hate absorbing, hate watching, stuff like that. Yep. Oh, the surprise no one has mentioned depressive suicidal black metal yet. I didn't know such a thing existed. Please no. Yeah, the mere utterance of the religion of non-asleepness will invoke the blood war to your very door. Yeah, I think it's so hilariously idiotic, right? It's just like it it's the whole red pill, blue pill thing, and the whole like gender politics and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what are you afraid of? There's no some things are idiotic, right? Like, and it's the whole gatekeeping of keeping people out for a reason. It's like, you don't need to do that. You really don't need to gatekeep a thing. Um, Human beings settle ourselves out with our abilities or non-abilities, our skills, lack of skill in almost every facet of society. You don't need to stop people from engaging in a thing. Um, the natural difficulty of excellence itself keeps people out of a thing, right? One eye heathens. Yep, it's a thing, and it really fits the feel of Hades. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Drew says, I hate that I am too often become a negative Nancy in my overly analytic approach to most topics. Yeah, you kind of want to stop that because uh, ultimately, what I don't want to just say negativity. Ultimately, what destructive interactions with things creates is ultimately nothing. Um, Movies. Let's take movies and television and all the channels dedicated to how woke all these television and movies are. Now, I'll grant you some of the creativity isn't there, and it's pretty bad, right? But if you just let's assume you had the magical ability to wipe all that stuff away, you're left with nothing. There is nothing creative left in it. Um, Taking chances, being creative, building things, raising other people up, hearing more stories, more voices, more people involved in a thing means that we get a greater chance of getting new things in our life, greater things, more creativity. Destructiveness leaves nothing behind. Just destructiveness doesn't add anything to the discussion. It just removes more and more bricks until we don't have a foundation of anything. What you want are more voices, more people, more interactions, so that we get, you know, greater a greater number of role playing games, a greater number of participants in those games, a greater number of individuals who will solve the problem of letting even more people into the system. And I get it. I know we like to think of ourselves as being in our own little cocoons, and we don't want outsiders, those other them and they and those other people in our hobby. But um, who cares? It's still only going to be you and the few people you hang out with, no matter how many people join the tabletop RPG community. It's still only, I mean, it's not like you're going to be hosting a table of 80,000, right? Shai says, yeah, it's just the mark of a truly exceptional channel to keep the blood war out of it. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Listen, it the point is to lift, it's not to destroy terrible art, is to lift up great art. I guess that's my point, right? If somebody doesn't like a thing, don't waste 20 hours of other people's time focusing on not liking a thing. How about 15 hours of loving a thing and talking about how great a thing is and how we would like to see more of that better thing? That's just me. But listen, uh, we know how algorithms work, and dopamine hits are really good because anger and outrage is a very cheap and easy emotion to get, like the dark side, right? And it's very easy to get that. Being light and creative and hopeful and adding energy and being positive and having positive reinforcement is very difficult. It takes energy to do that for our damn selves, let alone for other people. And so, yep, yeah. I mean, listen, we're not perfect people. I do it all the time. Don't act like some kind of like I don't know, some like uh, I don't know, burlap wearing messiah, wearing a Birkenstocks, talking on high with long hair and incense about what we should or shouldn't do. I'm just a dude, right? But I fall more towards like I'd rather engage in things that I like than dislike. Yeah, anticipating the worst can be a good thing since it makes it easier that one gets surprised in a good way since the thing is better than expected. And listen, that's human survival, right? Human survival is expecting the worst so we can avoid it. I mean, that's not an accident. That literally helped us live past predators and bad weather and disease and poison and stuff. So it's not it is extremely normal and self-preservationist to understand what negative things are so that we can avoid them. So yeah. But Shai says, yeah, you mean pointlessly negative reviews? Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. uh, Loki, ooh, reminds me of the Loki show. Destruction is easy. Yep. Yeah, I like the end of the Loki show. I actually liked it. Well, and I like Tom Hiddleston too, and those characters. Um, what a great story arc! I think for Loki, I really liked it. Um, the writers tied back the burdened with glorious purpose, and that's a chef's kiss to me. I really I hope they don't. I hope Tom Hiddleston goes on to have a great career doing other things. I hope they don't have to revisit it, even though it sounds awesome. What is it? I catastrophize. That's not a word, but it really drains the energy. Catastrophe. Uh, cre- engage in catastrophes, maybe. Not sure. Anyway, guys, let's figure out if we can take off the gray robes and get our shoulders to straighten up a little bit straighter as we leave Hades behind, get away from the Maiden of Misery and her damn beholders, which all to be honest with you, I think it would be kind of badass for players to have to fight not just one beholder, but like, you know, two, three, a dozen of them would be pretty hilariously funny because players would be like, "You're trying to kill my character." Like, yeah. Drew says, "Yeah, Tom Hiddleston is indeed great. He originally auditioned for the role of Thor, but his Loki has become iconic." I absolutely agree with you. Uh, in hindsight, I think we could probably go like, I don't know if we'd see him as Thor. With a beard maybe or so, we're going like, but his Loki is pretty amazing, and he did a great job in encompassing that character to go from one thing to another. To go from a classic, pretty bland villainous type to this complex character, pretty interesting. Yep, burdened with glorious purpose. For anybody that hasn't seen the Loki series, do yourself a favor and just watched it. I would love. I wonder if Marvel, Disney Plus has done this, but it would be pretty interesting for Marvel to cut up all of their movies and television shows and put together a montage of all of the great parts of one specific character. Oh, what realm is next? I don't know. Let's go to uh you know what? We'll go to Glorium and the heroic domains of Isgard. I think that's chaotic good. So yeah, that's where we'll go next. Matter of fact, I'm going to mark it right now. Where's my mark? Here. I lost it. Oh, there it is. There's my Arcadia sticker. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, we'll go to Glorium next time. Isgard. Yeah. Since we're talking about Loki and Thor, we'll go to Isgard. You'll see what we mean. You kind of figure it out right now, but yeah, it's all chaotic and good. So, and what does that mean? We'll see. All right, guys, have a great one. I will see thee in another fragment of time. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.